Can you imagine experiencing your life as easy and peaceful most of the time, even when things around you seem to be in chaos? It truly is a possibility. That is the gift of living with soul and ego in harmony, living in self-awareness without judgment. Get ready to listen, share, and experience the magic that is energy medicine. Now, here is the host of Soul Healing with Traci Trimble, Doctor of Energy Medicine, Traci Trimble.
Welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Traci. I'm a Doctor of Energy Medicine and a bioenergetic therapist. I work as a spiritual guide and an energy healer. I specialize in treating both the cause and the effects of depression, anxiety, acute stress, and chronic pain from the perspective of the layers of energy that surround our human bioenergetic field: the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. My passion is teaching energy medicine, specifically Reiki, chakra balancing, and Hatha yoga. The gift is to not only see through the layers of your bioenergetic field, but my superpower is to hear your soul whisper. With your permission, I hear your soul speak to me. And as a trained talk therapist, I have the joy of speaking with your ego energy. So it becomes my job to guide you back into alignment, to teach you how to bring your soul and ego back into harmony. And that's exactly what this weekly 1-hour session is all about. And today, we're going to be talking about the two primary energies, the rules in which this universe works on. And these two energies are called love and fear. As human beings, we've created an overwhelming amount of ways to describe how we're feeling, how we're thinking, and how we're navigating our outside world. But the truth is there are only two energies, fear or love. They're moving at all times. You're always in motion, physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually, always in motion. So you are always heading closer to love or closer to fear. And that's the awareness that I'd like to create today. I want to gift you ways to stop the chaos and confusion and to get really clear on where you're at in those four energies: physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. So let's get to simplifying what all this means. As spiritual beings, we either vibrate at a low, heavy vibration, which is fear, or we vibrate at a high, light frequency, which is love. The challenge is that as spiritual beings in human existence, we also have to live by and apply to the law of physics, where like energy attracts like energy. So that means whether you are consciously aware of your vibration or not, it causes and affects your experiences. If you have low vibration, but it's very strong because you're feeding it and fueling it by fear, then you're going to have a strong vibration. So even though you're in a room or a relationship or around others that have a really good, spiritually based, positive mental attitude, if vibration, if they aren't feeding themselves with more love on a more consistent basis, can be attracted to yours, and you can bring their energy down, vice versa. If you are feeding yourself love energy and you are taking care of yourself first and you are making sure that you have everything you need so that everyone else will get what they need, then your vibration is going to be stronger and you will raise people up simply by holding their space, not by having to do any work at all. So let's explain what love and what fear are. So first of all, as I've mentioned, love is a high vibrating frequency of light energy. It is very beneficial. It is an in alignment energy. And when we are in alignment with our truth, this is an easy, peaceful energy. Now, I want to get really clear right away that there is no good or bad here. What is my highest vibration, what is my love and light, may not be yours. What might be good for me may not be good for you. It's all based on our soul's purposefulness, on the energy in which we came here to experience. We made a pact that said we are going to experience this. I can choose, because I have free will and autonomy, how I want to experience this moment. Am I going to experience it from love, which is a high frequency of vibrating energy? It's light. Or am I going to choose to find the fear? Fear is non-beneficial energy. It causes us harm and suffering because we're out of alignment with our soul's purpose. It creates chaos. Fear's purposefulness was as a warning system to our ego. Our ego's responsibility is navigating the outside world to make sure that this physical body is always protected, so that together soul and ego can fulfill the contract to experience human being. The challenge is that ego has gotten so overwhelmed with the chaos, begun to control and be trapped in fear. Isn't it so much easier to be able to navigate both the outside world and the inside world if we only have to be consciously aware of one direction, love or fear? A little later in the show, we're going to go through all the ways in which, well, not all the ways, we're going to go through many of the ways in which fear is expressed. But every single one of those is out of alignment energy. So really quickly, let me run through some of the emotions. You may recognize, if you've listened to my show on the basics of chakras, or if you have done any research or education on chakras in general, that what I'm sharing with you is exactly the chakra energies. But I'm going to shift them into emotional language. So fear is disconnection, isolation, loneliness. But love is connected, is oneness, wholeness. Fear is stories and illusions cause us pain as we protect ourselves from things that are not any of our business. Whereas love is an empowered capacity to create stories that move us forward into our highest good. Fear is literally speaking our lies. And when I say speaking, I don't necessarily mean using our voice. It's throat chakra energy. And lies are thoughts, words, chosen actions, and chosen actions that are taking us farther away from love and closer to fear. Love energy is speaking our truth, thoughts, words, chosen actions, and inactions that not only empower us, but teach others how to treat us with kindness and compassion. Fear is sadness, grief, and a perceived sense of loss of self, whereas love is light, is joy, is peacefulness, is forgiveness. Fear is shame, anger, and lack of worthiness stealing our abundance from us. But love is a self-care that creates esteem and willpower that gives us abundance, the experience of abundance. Fear is guilt and blame, whereas love is creativity and passion. Fear is not feeling safe, being insecure, or believing that we're not supported by our own selves, but also by others. But love is a deep knowing in the core of our being. We're safe, we're secure, and we're supported. That we have everything that we need within us to thrive. We simply have to choose love. Now, the challenge with this whole love-fear strategy is that as human beings, we've convoluted what those mean. We've created love as an interactive relationship with another human being. We've even made it sexual. That's not love. And actually, very often in relationships, what we say is love is not. It is a connected whole oneness that speaks its truth, that creates love, light, and forgiveness so that we have esteem and power, so that we live in creativity and passion that we know cure. What relationship of love, whether self or other, do you know that consistently lives there? And fear. We've really confused fear and afraid. Afraid means I'm worried because I don't know what happens next because I've never experienced this before. And very often afraid and excitement are the same thing, and we misconstrue it and call it fear. No. Fear is disconnected, isolated, and alone. It's being controlled by stories and illusions and lying to ourselves and others to protect. It's sadness, grief, and loss, shame, anger, and blame. It's guilt. That's fear. So it's really time for us to get super clear on what love is, what energies, what thoughts, words, feelings, and actions are taking us into alignment with our truth, that we feel empowered versus disempowered. Love is beneficial. It keeps us in alignment with truth, and it's ease. It's where our soul is on purpose, being kind and compassionate, patient and loving. Fear is non-beneficial energy that takes us out of alignment, creates chaos, and within us is poison. It is fear that creates our pain and our suffering, our disease and our dysfunction. Everything that I've talked about up until this moment has all been about energy, has all been etherical. The challenge is that fear becomes poison, and that poison becomes physical matter. It starts out as an annoyance within our body, but then it becomes painful. And if we ignore that, it becomes disease and dysfunction. It's not just about a spiritual journey that we're traveling closer to love. It's about the human experience that we have to travel as far away from fear as possible to be healthy, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. It's time for the first break of our show. When we return, we're going to talk about the levels of awareness, the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, and how our thoughts, words, feelings, and actions are affected by moving closer to love or falling into closer to fear. You're listening to Soul Healing with Traci Trimble.
Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Traci, and it's my passion to be here to teach you metaphysical lessons in self-awareness without judgment. If you haven't already found me on Facebook, please try my personal page, Traci Trimble, or my business page, True Path Consulting with Traci Trimble, PhD. Let's get back to our show topic of love and fear. Before we went to break, we were talking about what love and fear is. And now I'd like to actually go into the depths of it. And I want to focus right now on fear. And the reason for that is because fear is the most challenging place where most people create their chaos. When we are in the energy of love and we are being that energy, life is actually quite easy and peaceful. So if you're already there most of the time, today might not be for you. However, gifting yourself the capacity to remember fear is the gift that you give to others to guide, teach, heal, and protect them from staying in this space. So stay with me. Fear creates pain and suffering. I know this is going to sound a little overwhelming and almost unbelievable, but fear is actually an incredibly powerful gift. This powerful gift called fear is stopping us from continuing to go in the direction that we're heading if we are consciously aware enough to pay attention to it. The challenge is, as human beings, if we have cultivated this horrific skill called avoid, ignore, and escape, it literally shuts off the warnings that fear gives us that we're in danger. Let me give you a facetious but actual possible scenario. Imagine that every time you watched a movie, you had to have popcorn. And every time you had popcorn, the fire alarm would go off. The fire alarm is warning you that there could be danger. You realize in the moment it's just the microwave or the pot on the stove, and you know that that's not a danger. But one day you get really annoyed that the fire alarm's going off while you're trying to make popcorn and watch a movie, and so you take the battery out of the fire. You have no warning anymore. There's no way of knowing if there is a real fire. Or worse, we get numb to the sound. So one day, you're sitting there watching a movie and the fire alarm goes off. You know you're not making popcorn, but you're so annoyed by the fire alarm that you continue to sit and watch the movie, completely unaware that the house is literally burning down around you. Yes, fear does give off some false signals. It's not really a life danger, but going in that direction isn't for you. And that fear energy, that chaos energy, that non-beneficial out of alignment of disconnection, of a story, of a lie, of sadness, of anger, of guilt or blame. It's to warn you that whatever you thinking, saying, feeling, or doing is not your truth. It's not for you. It's creating at first very small and then eventually absolutely gigantic levels of suffering. I'm about to share with you an unpopular opinion And I do not apologize if you don't agree, but I would love to hear your comments and feedback on this. I do not believe that depression and anxiety are mental health. I believe they're emotional. I believe they're gigantically incredible, amazing that we are ignoring. They are the lowest frequency and the strongest indicator that we are entirely consumed by fear. It's the only way that our body has to stop us from continuing to go physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually in the direction that we're heading. Well, what is that direction? Well, let's talk about first physically. Well, physically are chosen actions and inactions. We are physically being stopped by depression and anxiety from going any further. We are actually shutting down. Our body is shutting down because we're not listening. Okay, so what aren't we listening to? Well, first of all, we're not listening to our feelings. We don't know what we feel about pretty much anything, or we're consumed entirely by either worry, which is fear for the future, or anger, which is fear from the past. But either way, neither of those are true or real. The past has already happened. We got to fix it moving forward, not by getting stuck in the past. And it's not true because worry is something we're projecting. It hasn't even happened yet. And it most likely wouldn't even happen if you didn't give it energy. Shit happens because we worry. Because like energy attracts like energy. So what we're worried about, we're actually subconsciously searching for evidence possible and true. We will go and find exactly what we're worried about. And what we're worried about is going to find us. Do you want to stay in this depression and anxiety because your actions are actually causing you disease, dysfunction, pain, and fear? Our actions have become feelings. Our non-beneficial feelings include fear, grief, depression, and despair. That's our lowest level of power. As a matter of fact, and I think I have that book here, I do, perfect. If you check out an amazing book by Esther and Jerry Hicks, which are the teachings of Abraham, called Ask and It Is Given, and you flip over to page 114, they actually create a scale of emotions. And they have 22 emotions in particular. Fear, grief, depression, and despair, powerlessness are the lowest energies. Insecurity, guilt, and unworthiness next. Then jealousy, then hatred and rage, revenge, anger, discouragement, worry, doubt, disappointment, overwhelm, frustration, irritation, impatience, pessimism, boredom. Those are all fear energies. Fear energies. And they can't begin to shift into love right away. They have to transition first through contentment, then hopefulness, optimism, positive expectation and belief, enthusiasm, eagerness and happiness, passion, okay, knowledge, empowerment, freedom, appreciation, and then finally, love. These are our feelings that we get stuck in or we process through. But our feelings come from our words. Words are either positive from a space of love or negative from a space of fear. And our words matter because not only do they create what we're doing, thinking, feeling, being, they also teach others how to treat us, how to communicate with us, how to be with us. And those words always, every single time, start with only one thing, a thought. That thought is either one of two thoughts. We only have one of two thoughts. A thought of love or a thought of fear. When we have that thought, what we do with it matters. If it is a fear energy, shut it down. Say, no, thank you. That will cause me harm and suffering. If the love thought, we're going to get to a place where we're unconsciously competent. We don't need to do anything with a love thought because we're flowing and creating and manifesting. Our pain and suffering created by first a thought. It becomes a word that processes into a feeling, and that feeling changes from 100% energy into 100% matter. This is huge, big, gigantic jump. I get it. But your thoughts cause your pain, dysfunction, and disease. It's not just a cold, and it's not just cancer. It's layers and layers of poisonous thoughts based in fear that cause harm and suffering. What we do with what we think matters. Yes, a thought is just a thought until it's a word or a feeling, and finally an action or an inaction. It's time to heal ourselves of our pain and suffering. It's time to get really clear on where we stand. Are you mostly in love energy, or are you mostly in fear? And here's the truth. We aren't all going to be in love energy all the time. We are human beings. We're having a human experience. But if our conscious awareness sets the intention that we will find love energy most of the time, then that's who we're going to be. That's what we're going to have, and that is what we are going to do. It's time for our second break of the show. When we get back, we're going to talk about healing ourselves, healing others, and healing the world. We'll be right back.
Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Traci Trimble. Our topic today is love and fear. My purpose and my passion today is to teach many people as possible that this is the simple truth. It really is this easy. You're either thinking, speaking, feeling, and doing love, or you're thinking, speaking, feeling, and doing fear. It doesn't get any more simplistic than that. The gift and the opportunity is to start asking yourself this one simple question, millions of times a day if you have to. Where am I at right now? Where am I at right now? And I'm going to ask you to please do that without criticism and judgment. If you're in fear and that space is anger, give yourself permission to be allowed to be angry. Be allowed to be sad. Be allowed to be confused. or hurt. Because by giving yourself permission to be there, you have the capacity to name it. That's fear. When you name it, you have the capacity to actually comprehend at an intellectual level how much of that crap you consume. I very often liken this to eating. I love to eat. But I liken fear to McDonald's. And I liken love to organic fruits and vegetables. Only because McDonald's is supposed to be really bad for us, and organic fruits and vegetables is supposed to be really good for us. Yeah, every now and then you're going to eat McDonald's. So what? But you eat McDonald's 600 to 800 times a day because that's how many times you have emotional response to a thought. We literally have millions of thoughts a day, but 600 to 800 of those thoughts in a day are causing us harm. If you're mostly eating McDonald's, you're not okay. You're not okay physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. You can't be. There's no judgment and criticism in that. It's simply where you're at in this moment. In order to heal ourselves, we've got to stop ignoring where we're at. We have to stop avoiding and escaping it. And that simply means acknowledging it, giving ourselves permission to know what our thoughts are, to realize what our words are, to know our thoughts, to hear our words, to feel our emotions, to start to take inventory. It's really easy if it was food. We'd know how many times we ate at McDonald's because we'd be consciously aware of going to do it. The challenge with our thoughts, our words, our feelings, and our actions is that we are so on robot autopilot, we are so unconsciously incompetent that most of the time we don't know that we don't know that we don't know. And that is killing us. As soon as we're able to consciously aware of where we're at without judgment and criticism, we are going to be capable, maybe with a little bit of work and effort at the beginning, but it gets easier. But our capacity becomes being able to choose. My self-esteem, my self-love, and my willpower is so strong that I get to choose whether I'm going to be closer to love or closer to fear. Don't get yourself wrong. I am not standing at a pulpit preaching to you. I would be such a hypocrite. I choose fear, but I choose love most of the time. And I make great effort to put tools in place so that I am choosing love. We've got to heal ourselves. And this is a part that is important. We then have to teach others our truth, what we need, what we will and will not accept. We have to retrain others how to teach us. And that is entirely on us. How someone else treats you is entirely because of you. What other people think about you is none of your business. But how they treat you, they do so because you've trained them that not only is that okay, but it's how they're going to get what they want, need, or expect from you. Every single person on this planet is in their own shit show. They are worried and scared about where they're at right now. If every single one of us focused entirely on knowing our thoughts, hearing our own words, feeling our own emotions, and choosing what our actions and inactions looked like, we'd be doing our own work. And with kindness and compassion, we actually wouldn't have enough time or desire to do other people's work for them. When we are in fear, we avoid, ignore, escape by not minding our own business, by getting caught up in everything that's happening outside of us. If we just take the time to ground back into our own physical body, to take care of our own selves, guess what would happen? Others would do the same. We'd be teaching them by example. And if there was a whole bunch of us that were simply just learning how to love others from where they're at, you don't need to unlove them. You don't even need to cut them off. You just need to learn to love yourself more so that whatever is happening to them, for them, and because of them is none of your business. You're completely and entirely empowered. And in a most beautiful way, which is passive, not aggressive, you're actually healing them. You're giving them the space, the time, and the desire to do their own work. If nobody's going to do their work for them, guess what? They're going to realize through probably a large amount of pain and suffering that they've got to do their own work. And when everybody starts doing their own work, we're going to heal the world. We're not going to live in pain and suffering. We're not going to live in control. We're not going to live in hatred and rage and jealousy. We're not going to live in frustration and pessimism. We're actually going to walk away from depression and anxiety. We're going to walk away from stress and chronic pain because nobody's creating that crap anymore. This is my mission. This is the purpose of all of these sessions that you've been listening to. Self-awareness without judgment is going to heal the world. Yeah, are we going to have to do it one person at a time? Sure, we are. But if every person focused on their own self and their own stuff, that could happen in 3 minutes. In the next 3 minutes, if we all decide without exception, with full intention, that it is time that I'm going to take care of me and that is going to be primary focus, boom, the world changes. Pretty powerful stuff. That power, that stuff, is called love. It's a high vibration of light that is beneficial to absolutely every human being. It's what keeps us into alignment. It's what takes us into alignment. It's our soul being on purpose. It doesn't mean the world is always sunshine and roses. It means the world is perfect in that moment. We're living for right now. We are in this present moment, letting the past be the past, letting the future be the future. Whatever we are doing is in the meantime. In the meantime, I'll create my future. I'm going to be in the present moment. In the meantime, I'm going to create my future. So cool. It's time for our final break of the show. When we get back, we're actually going to talk about next week's show. It's actually called Perfectly Perfect. I just want to say thank you for listening to Soul Healing with Traci Trimble, PhD. I am truly and deeply grateful to be in service to you. If anything you've heard here today resonates, please grab a hold of it and run with it. I'm here to support you. If you need help, email me, Traci, Traci, at tracitrimble.ca. If there's anything here that you've heard today that you think would be of value to a friend and you can deliver it while still minding your own business, please feel free to share it with your friends and family. We'll be right back.
Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Traci Trimble, Doctor of Energy Medicine. Before we went to break, we were discussing fear energy and how we begin to move closer to love. Well, let's talk about that in greater detail. First and foremost, you have to get out of your own way. You either believe that what I'm saying is possible or you don't. If you do believe that this is possible, that it can be this easy, it's either love or fear. Where am I at right now? Okay, nope. Shift. Where's love? We're going to stay in your own way and nothing's going to change except time. Time will continue to move on. To get out of fear, you've got to get out of fear's way. You've got to take a different direction. That means cultivating a belief that everything that is happening is perfectly perfect. We've got to stop evaluating and judging everything as good or bad. If it is bad, it's just perfectly perfect. It is exactly what it is in that moment, and you have the opportunity to shift it should you choose. So if you get out of your own way, you cultivate a belief that everything is perfectly perfect, and then you decide to choose you. You decide that you are the most important person on this planet from a space of love, of kindness and compassion. If you decide that you're going to do your work honestly, all you have to do is start asking yourself that question. Where am I at right now? And if you want to do deep work, peel away layers. Awesome. It's going to happen really quick. If you're not willing to do that work, awesome. Just realizing that you're in fear and acknowledging that is an incredible start to changing your life. If in this moment all you've got is good or bad, use it. Don't stay there, but use it. This does not feel good. Well, if it doesn't feel good, you're heading in the wrong direction. That person, place, thing, scene, situation, or scenario is not for you. Give yourself permission to say, okay, it is perfectly perfect where I'm at. It's not where I want to be, so what do I have to do? You have to look at the person, place, thing, scene, situation, or scenario and realize that there's probably a pattern. You've probably been doing something, being someone, or having something in your life that was not ever meant for you. You've forced that energy to stay within your experience. And by forcing energy to stay in your experience, you are 100% completely in your own way. You are creating pain and suffering. What are you going to do about that? You're going to decide to choose you. You're going to decide to look at what's going on. to no longer avoid, ignore, escape. You're going to give yourself permission to know your thought, hear your words, feel your emotions. Take the inventory. You've got this. You've totally got this. Now, next week, we're going to talk about the very powerful tool or the skill set called Perfectly Perfect. It's true. Life is not always sunshine and roses. It's not supposed to be. We're here to experience everything from a space of free will and autonomy. But even though it's not sunshine and roses, it is exactly what it needs to be so that you can learn the lesson. You can get the tool. And that tool is going to allow you to level up, to be better, to do better, to have better. But until you are in that lesson fully and completely and you get its gift, you can't level up. This is the awareness called Perfectly Perfect. And I'm going to share it as an intellectual and a spiritual concept live next week. It's pretty cool. It seems like that's all the time we have today. As always, I'm so incredibly grateful to have spent this time with you. I trust that you got exactly what you needed from me today, but if for any reason you haven't, please send me your questions, your concerns, your disapproval to traci@tracitrimble.ca. If you're curious about how I can help you, check out my website. Have a great day.
Thank you for choosing to listen to Soul Healing with Traci Trimble, PhD.